Ever had that weird moment where something happens? You ask about it, and suddenly, somehow, you're the problem? You remember what someone said. They tell you, I never said that. You notice their behavior has changed. They say, you're overthinking. You point out a pattern. They call you paranoid. You trust your instincts. They tell you you're imagining things. And eventually, you stop asking questions. You stop trusting your memory. You stop trusting your instincts. And the most dangerous part? You start asking yourself, maybe I'm the problem. This is where gaslighting gets really powerful. Because manipulation doesn't always start with controlling what you do. Sometimes, it starts with messing with how you see reality. 1. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is basically psychological manipulation, where someone keeps making you doubt your own memory, perception, judgment, or interpretation of events. And here's the thing that makes it so dangerous. One lie usually isn't enough. It works through repetition. They deny something. You remember it. They deny it again. You start getting confused. Then they attack your reaction to that confusion. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Now the original issue is gone. And suddenly, you're the one defending yourself. That's the trap. The conversation shifts from what actually happened to what's wrong with you, and that one shift changes everything. 2. The first stage, making you question your memory. Imagine you confront someone about something they clearly said. You say, yesterday you told me you didn't want to work with me. They immediately respond, I never said that. You know they did. So you explain. They cut you off. You're remembering it wrong. You try again. They say, you always misunderstand everything. At first, you push back. You think, no, I know what I heard. But if this keeps happening, something slowly shifts. You start double-checking yourself before you even question them. Wait, did I get that wrong? Maybe I misheard it. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. And this is the sneaky part. They don't actually need to prove their version is true. They just need to make your version feel shaky. Because once you're unsure, you start relying on them to define what's real. 3. The second stage, invalidating your emotions. Another common tactic is emotional invalidation. You say, that really hurt me. Instead of owning what they did, they go after your reaction. You're too sensitive. It was just a joke. You're being dramatic. Anyone else wouldn't care. Notice what just happened. You were talking about their behavior. Now you're defending your personality. That's the switch. The focus moves away from what they did and onto how you reacted. And over time, you might start holding things in. You don't speak up. You don't complain. You don't question things. Because you already know the response. You're overreacting. And eventually, staying quiet feels easier than being dismissed. 4. The third stage, turning your instincts against you. Your instincts aren't perfect. Nobody's are. But there's a big difference between sometimes being wrong and being trained to not trust yourself at all. Let's say you notice someone always hiding their phone. You ask, is something going on? They say, you're paranoid. It happens again. You ask again. You seriously have trust issues. Eventually, you stop asking. Not because everything is fine, but because questioning them always leads to stress. So now you start turning the suspicion inward. Am I being controlling? Am I just insecure? Am I imagining this? And suddenly, your focus isn't on their behavior anymore. It's on whether you're even allowed to notice it. That's a different level of control. 5. Why does gaslighting work? So why does this even work? Because humans aren't perfect record keepers. Memory is messy. Emotions affect how we see things, and when someone keeps challenging your version of reality, doubt naturally builds, especially when you care about them. The closer someone is, the more their words hit. A random person saying, "You're crazy," you'd probably ignore it. But someone you trust saying it over and over, that hits differently. You start thinking, they know me. Maybe they're seeing something I'm missing. Maybe I'm wrong. And that's where trust gets twisted. Not because trust is bad, but because blind trust can be used against you. 6. The darkest part. You start gaslighting yourself. Here's where it gets really messed up. At some point, they don't even need to do it anymore. You start doing it for them. You notice something off and immediately think, I'm probably overthinking. You feel hurt. I'm too sensitive. Their voice becomes your voice. Even when they're not around anymore, their doubt is still running in your head. And that's when it becomes really powerful. Because it's no longer someone controlling you directly. It's you second-guessing yourself automatically. 7. The dark psychology of gaslighting. When someone makes you doubt your own reality. Ever had that weird moment where something happens, you ask about it, and suddenly, somehow, you're the problem? You remember what someone said. They tell you, I never said that. You notice their behavior has changed. This is where gaslighting gets really powerful, because manipulation doesn't always start with controlling what you do. Sometimes, it starts with messing with how you see reality. 9. The final truth. 10. At its core, manipulation doesn't just take your time or energy. It tries to take your trust in yourself. Because when you trust yourself, you can question things. You can set boundaries. You can walk away. But when you don't, you start asking other people to approve your own reality. So remember this. Someone doesn't have to agree with your experience, but you should never feel like you have to erase it just to keep the peace. Be open to being wrong. Be honest with yourself. But don't let someone slowly convince you that you're always wrong just for noticing things they don't want you to see. Because in the end, it's not just about changing what happened. It's about changing what you believe happened. And once that happens, they don't need to control reality anymore. They just need to control your confidence in it.